In that service, we prayed for all those who were affected by the conflict on both the Jewish and the Muslim side.
Michigan is one of a handful of key swing states here in the US, and polling indicates it's currently on a knife edge and could go red or blue. There are some key issues which keep coming up with voters I'm speaking to here. Women's reproductive rights and access to abortion is a really important one, but also the conflict in the Middle East, particularly what's going on in Gaza and Lebanon. Many voters here tell me that even though it's thousands of miles away, it is going to impact how they decide to vote.
I remember that I was leading services and a congregant came up to me and said, "Rabbi, something happened in Israel." And of course, the news only got worse from there.
This conflict has been going on for decades. We have community members who are Palestinian. Of course, after last year, when it escalated to higher levels, it was very difficult because we had certain community members who had loved ones who passed away directly, who were bombed. We had an MSU student who was part of our community last year. Him and 17 other members of his family were killed in a single bomb attack.
The community has been torn apart in many ways by the events of October 7th and the subsequent war. One of my congregants had a relative on Kibbutz Nir Oz. His name was Chaim Perry. He was 79 years old and was taken by Hamas. He was taken hostage. He was a man who was a lifelong peace activist, but Hamas made no distinctions, and they took him, and his fate was unknown for a while, but he did die in captivity. There was a very personal connection.
I had to deal with certain sisters who were mentally kind of, shocked by this, and they were having mental health issues, and that got worse.
It's very difficult to have a conversation about Israel because it is such a morally complex situation. There's a great deal of pain for Israel, for the Israelis who were assaulted, killed, murdered, etc. There is pain for Israel politically. What has it become?
Communities have been really frustrated because we feel helpless. We want to help, we want to do something positive, but what can we do? And so guiding the community through that tough time as a spiritual leader as to what are the things that are within our realm of possibility, the prayers, of course.
When we pray for Israel, we always pray also for the Palestinian people. So it makes a statement right there where our community is at.
As soon as this happened last year in October, I was the first one to reach out to our local Jewish community, and I reached out with a message of support, and so that the Jewish community could know that we stand by them and we are against any anti-Semitism.
About a month after October 7th massacre, we had organized an interfaith service of hope that was hosted by a local Christian church. The local imam and I participated. We met and we decided, how we would support each other through this time, and we pledged to support each other's communities.
We had an interfaith service last year in November. In that service, we prayed for all those who were affected by the conflict on both the Jewish and the Muslim side. Since then, we've had mixed kind of meetings, few meetings which involved our political representatives. We were on opposite sides, sitting across the table, talking about different perspectives.
The city council, both in East Lansing and in Lansing, they had to deal with very fractious sort of town hall meetings where we were talking about ceasefire resolutions, and I participated in some of those. And these were very, very raw encounters where you could see that not only was there a tremendous amount of pain, but there's also a tremendous amount of anxiety.
We have been, upfront about taking this challenge head on and making sure that this does not result in any hatred or violence or any crimes. And I think because the leadership thinks like this, that then, permeates to the rest of the community.
We see what's happening in Detroit, just down the road from us, there's more of a disconnect between the Jewish community and the Muslim community in the Detroit area, where there seems to be sort of really ramped up tensions. I understand that sort of dialogue possibilities have broken down at this point. And that doesn't reflect our reality.
This is probably the first election that I'm witnessing where there is frustration as to what should we vote. The US government is seen as complicit with the war crimes that are going on in Gaza.
So when it comes to the election, I don't think that people are influenced in terms of their vote by the last few weeks of pronouncements from people. We're not single issue voters. My impression is, and this is borne out statistically, is that most people would tend to vote Democrat rather than Republican.
Trump and his narrative and what he wants to do with the Muslim community and with the refugees, his support for Israel, and we had a very hard time his 4 years in office. So that's a problem. But then the alternate party, which is the Democratic Party, which many Muslims voted for in the last elections because of their performance in this conflict and how the Muslim community sees that, that is not a choice any longer as well. I am leaning towards a third party, an independent vote.
Politically, how my communities reacted to the White House, to the current administration's handling of the Gaza crisis, I think on the whole it's been very positive. I am not sure that October 7th, that this war has influenced people's vote, though.
Across the board, wherever I meet people, whether Muslim community or Jews or Christians, everyone wants to see an end to this violence.
I've developed a strong relationship with the imam locally. We do disagree on politics, but that's just politics. We value each other very much in the life of our communities, because what's actually important is how we're living here right now.